What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to this special live show. I'm joined by Leon and Ian, and we're going to have a look ahead to the Spurs game. We're going to answer some of your questions, but most importantly, we're going to try and figure out what the hell is going on at Liverpool right now. And Ian, I haven't spoke to you in a while, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, Craig. I'm fine, thank you very much. Not too bad.
Happy we scored a couple of goals, even though we lost at Old Trafford. But, you know, it is what it is, man.
Not the result I was hoping for.
And Leon, I've spoke to you about this as well. We're trying to find any positives we can make at this moment in time going into the Spurs game.
I think there was a lot more positives in the Man United defeat than there was in the Burnley defeat. And we actually looked like we could create. We looked like we could score. So that there is positives to take into that game. A huge game tomorrow night. It's a massive game. I hope Mourinho feels that he has to win it. And I hope KLOPP feels that he's got to win it. And it should be a great game of ball. But Liverpool, they looked better on Sunday. And maybe because it was a more open game of football, I don't think any side wanted extra time. And that was kind of, you could see that with Man U. You could see that with Liverpool. They were both going for it. We were a little bit silly in terms of leaving a lot of spaces. But I actually think they just went all-out attack to try and get goals. We scored 2. We probably could have had 4. Milner missed a half volley. Salah missed a one-on-one. And if we cut out a couple of mistakes, we would have beat Man U. So I think there's a lot to take into this next match.
Yeah, look, it's a huge game, Ian, on Thursday against Spurs. And I want to ask you one question. I've asked Leon this as well. How is Divock Origi still getting time on the pitch, mate? Can you answer me that one, please? I'm looking for any answers here. Anything.
Right. What I'll say to that. Unfortunately, I think it's what you'd say, living off past. Obviously, what he'd done the season that we won, everything, you know, he scored important goals. He then got a nice contract on the back end of it. And really, once he'd signed that, you know, we're beholden to him, really, because it's going to be difficult to offload him with the wages he's probably on. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not trying, but at the end of the day, you have to say to yourself, surely, you know, his time's up.
Yeah, the reason I was really getting at there was it was kind of loaded with Divock Origi, but I was kind of more wondering what the hell Takumi Minamino has to do to get a look in, because, you know, I think Leon will agree with me. We're hearing the right things from KLOPP with regards to training, but regards to his tactical awareness, and I'm baffled, Ian, as to why he's not getting minutes.
See, from the outside looking in, we always ask these sort of questions, you know, but I always go back to the saying, we don't know what's going on in training. We don't know, you know, what Minamino's doing. You know, is he fully up for it? Is he physically ready? Yes, he scored a goal, you know, so long ago when he did play, but you have to, you've got to trust in KLOPP. There's got to be a reason why he's not playing him instead of Origi. Unfortunately, you know, we're not privy to that.
And for you, Leon, are you agreeing with Ian there? It's probably down to what he's seen in training.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not privy to that, which is a great point. I think Minamino, he's probably caught between a rock and a hard place at the moment. Where is his best position? And I actually think Jurgen is trying. He's tried him in a whole range of different positions. He's tried him in a midfield 3. He's tried him as a 9. He's tried him out on the wing. I personally think probably his best position would be just in behind the front 3. So he's obviously, well, I thought he was going to be up against Bobby Firmino for that kind of role if we were to play with the kind of 2 holding midfielders and with a kind of a more advanced player, which Shaqiri had become in the game against Man U in the league. He'd also become that in the game against Burnley, where he was very ineffective, but I think the whole team was ineffective. But I think Minamino against Origi against Burnley, for my opinion and what it's worth, I thought he actually looked a bit lively against Burnley. I know he missed that one-on-one, but he hadn't really got any game time prior to that. He wasn't the only striker or winger that had missed gilt-edged opportunities. We could accuse Mane, Salah and Firmino of the exact same thing. So Origi, I do agree with Ian. I think he's living off what he's done in the past. He'll always be remembered for that semi-final performance, especially against Barcelona, getting those 2 goals and getting the winner. But maybe his time is up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him sold in the summer. I don't think he's on massive money. I think he got a 4-year deal, was it? So I think probably in the summertime, I think Klopp will look to offload Divock Origi. And we've got to be looking to strengthen a couple of areas, I think, going into next summer.
There's a couple of things in the chat that I want to just put to Ian, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, mate. I just want to let you know there's a load of comments saying we sold the wrong striker and a lot of love for your boy. That's all I'm going to say, mate. I'm not putting you on the spot. I just want you to know, us Reds, we still have our eye on Reed. We still love him. A load of people in the chat are saying the same. But I want to talk to you, buddy, about team selection coming into this game against Spurs. And I know that both yourself and Leon are massive fans of Curtis Jones for right reasons. Mm-hmm. Do you think the Klopp's going to give him the nod in the midfield against Spurs?
No.
Love it. No. I don't either. That's why I'm intrigued to see what you think. No. For me,
I'll put down my team that I believe that he will probably go with. And this is obviously depending on the fact that obviously we're getting reports that Henderson's in full training. Matip was rested for the weekend. So for me, I've just got obviously Alisson in goal. Obviously, left and right back speak for themselves, you know. Then I've got Matip and Fab in the middle. Then I've got Hendo, Gini, and Thiago, and then the front three.
I've got to say that's exactly the 11 I went with my prediction as well. Leon, any changes for you in there?
I'd agree. I think it will be the 11, but in my opinion, I'd start Curtis Jones because I think he took off Wijnaldum after the hour mark against Man United, so he'll definitely start. If Henderson is fit, he starts. And I just maybe thought Thiago could do it maybe starting on the bench in this particular game. He's played quite a lot of minutes back-to-back now. He played in the FA Cup tie against United. He obviously played against Burnley and he played against Man U in the league game. So it's 3 games in a week. And we must remember this guy is only coming back from being out since, when was it, October time. So I think Curtis Jones was man of the match against Spurs at Anfield. And the one thing Curtis Jones gives us different to those 3, which I do agree with Ian, I think he will start with Thiago, Hendo and Gini. I'm just making the case for Curtis. I think he gives us more of an attacking threat. As soon as Curtis gets the ball, his first instinct is to go forward with it. It's not to turn around and kind of come back. And I thought Jones was exceptional at Old Trafford. But if he's on the bench, I think Klopp has got to look to him as one of the first guys, if it's not going well, to be brought on. Because I do feel the kid has got a massive future at Liverpool Football Club. He's only 19. This guy has got everything. He's got that confidence that you need to step onto the big stage. He doesn't seem to get flustered by any type of game, and I think he's going to be a star for many, many years at our great club.
One thing I always look at, Ian, when I'm looking at a youngster like that, and look, you've watched a load of underage football yourself, obviously, with your son growing up, and I always look at Curtis Jones, and he always wants the ball, always shows for the ball, always drops into the space, and never hides. To me, that is huge, and I think I agree with Leon entirely. The guy has a massive future.
Yeah. To me, obviously, when I used to go and watch the academy games and so forth, so I've seen him obviously from a young age, and that is definitely one of the biggest points for him. He always wanted the ball, tight spaces, didn't care. You know, he welcomed the pressure, the responsibility of, you know, it's like when he was playing for Steven Gerrard, and Gerrard more or less said he'll build the team around him. He's that type of player. So seeing him make that jump from academy level to senior level, and the way he's done it, like minimal, like for me, is brilliant, and it's what I expected from obviously what I'd seen at a younger age. And you know, to me, when he plays, he still plays like that kid on the street type of football, which I like. He's got no fear, and I love that. And like Leon said, he's got a bright future. Going on our point of what we talked about in the midfield and the 11 that he'll start, for me, as well as Thiago, he's playing okay. For me, I want to see Thiago further up the pitch. Yeah. Seeing him do that quarterback type of role is okay. But for me, for what we bought him for me, we need more up the park, creativity up the park. And at the moment, all we're relying on is Bobby doing his stuff. For me, if we got Hendo there and Gini behind him, for me, it gives him more license to get forward, yeah, and support the front three and interlink more with Firmino, who moves around all over the place, creates space for everyone. And I just think, for me, Thiago will make more of an impression higher up the pitch.
I think that's a fair point. And Leon, I think in our chat yesterday, you touched on something similar. I wonder what the plan was for Klopp when he brought Thiago in. Obviously, we hadn't had the injuries to Gomez and Van Dijk at that point. And I keep thinking to myself, you know, maybe the midfield plan was Henderson, Thiago and Fabinho moving forward, with obviously Fabinho in the six. So we spoke yesterday again and said it's been very unfortunate for Thiago that he's become fit and come into the squad at a time where we're probably at our most vulnerable.
Yeah, I think that's very fair, because in terms of the midfield three, Klopp probably hasn't had his favourite midfield three for hardly any games this season. We are taking away Fabinho, who is our anchor. And I think it's because he's done so well at centre-half, we kind of forget how brilliant he was sitting in front of the back four. He wins that ball back on so many occasions. And I think if we, to go back to Ian's point, if we can get Hendo and Gini to kind of protect, not alone does it free up Thiago, it frees up Robbo and Trent, because they both know that they can get down the wings, get as far forward as they like, because Hendo and Gini are going to be almost covering them on both sides. And I think Henderson, getting him back into the team, the work he does off the ball that you only get to see when you're actually at a game, he covers our fullbacks on so many occasions, whether it be left or whether it be right. When either one goes forward, if both of them goes forward, he's just always in the right place at the right time. And we're missing Jordan Henderson. We're missing that leadership around the middle of the park. We're missing him dictating the tempo, dictating to his teammates when to give it, when to stay on it. He's a huge loss for Liverpool. And as Ian said, if we get Matty back and if we get Jordan back tomorrow night, it's two big additions into that first 11.
One thing that I think has been very unfair, and I'll come to Ian first on this, has been the pressure that's been put on Reece Williams or Nat Phillips, who, let's be honest, we're never going to be in the plans in an ideal world for this season. And look, Reece made a mistake. It was as clear as day. But to me, I wonder, was that Klopp going what I like to call Mourinho and saying, reminding the board what can happen if they don't get the finger out in the next few days and get the man, the centre-back that he needs. And look, I've got to be honest about this, Ian. I've always viewed Klopp as a very fair manager, not somebody who wants to spend money for the sake of it, somebody who often thinks about the long-term implications of a signing, of the stability of the group. And if he's saying publicly, I need a centre-back, I think it's been pretty unfair on Reece as a human being, as a person, as a young guy developing. And it's been pretty unfair on the manager, and it's shown in his face. It's shown when you see him being interviewed. He just looks stressed.
Glad you brought up that point, because I was going to mention that later, funny enough. Do you know what? First things first, I want to say, I could not believe some of the stuff I was reading on social media with regards to Reece. Now, you've got a young kid who, up until this time last year, was playing, if I believe, Kidderminster, on loan. You know, he's been thrust into the limelight, right? He's made his dream debut. He's trying his hardest, right? He's made a mistake. And when I read the stuff on social media, you know, taking the mick about comparing him to Van Dijk and stuff like that, I thought, really? Right, this is Liverpool fans. I can't believe what I'm reading. And I just thought, you know, we're a family club, right? He's one of our own at the end of the day. Yeah, we've got to give the kid some, you know, some leeway. You know, unfortunately, he's been put in a position. Yes, he paid professional footballer, but at the end of the day, we've got to be real. And like you said, Craig, he was probably never in the plans for this year. Your point with regards to is he making a point to the ball? Possibly. But at the end of the day, you have to say his hands were tied, because who else could he have really played? You know, it was either him or Matt Phillips. But for me, I said it on the last podcast, for me at this moment in time, I'd probably more go for Matt. Because, listen, Reece is coming into a team that isn't exactly full of confidence. Yeah? So therefore, you really want your old head, somebody who's got a little bit more experience in times like this. And maybe shouldn't have played him. Should have played him back instead. But who am I? But I think going forward, just for the time being, until we start picking up where we left off before, if I had the choice to play out of them two, I would play Matt for that reason.
I can understand that because Leon Nat seems like more of an old-fashioned, he's not suited to the high line that we play, but he's certainly somebody that will get his head on the end of a ball, put his body on the line, and a bit more old school and a bit more senior experience as well, obviously, with his time in Stuttgart.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's no doubt. I think we spoke about this ahead of the league game when we were saying if Matip wasn't there, that we would like to see kind of Phillips just ahead of Reece, just because of that little bit extra experience. But if you look at Reece, he had an exceptional game against Spurs at Anfield when he played alongside Fabinho, and people were eulogizing about the kid, saying, look at this 18-year-old, he's come in, he's come up against Harry Kane, he's come up against Son, and he performed really, really well. So to make a mistake in a big game against Man United, that's going to happen. The best thing for Reece is, can he learn from that? And I'm sure he will learn from that. And I'm sure Klopp will put the arm around him. Look, he's a young boy. He's going to have ups and downs before he becomes a regular. But I just feel your point about Klopp, you can see the kind of strain. It is getting to Klopp. Having at one stage our 3 first-choice centre-backs all injured at the same time, having to bring midfielders back to cover the gap. Then you've got to thrust a young kid of 18 into an FA Cup game against your bitter rivals. It does take its toll. Do I think we're going to get one before this window closes? I'm going to say no. I don't see us getting a centre back before the transfer window is shut. And that's going to be a problem because eventually Matip, I don't think he can play these 3 games in a week. He'll be fine when we're playing weekend to weekend because I think his body just needs a week to recuperate before the next game. For argument's sake, I don't see him playing against West Ham on Sunday. I actually think it's probably going to be Phillips because West Ham are quite an aerial side with Antonio, with Souček. They've got a lot of strong guys. But back to Reece Williams, some of the stuff that was said was way over the top. He's a young lad. These same supporters were probably calling him world class after that performance when we beat Spurs. So give the kid a break.
One thing I want to say is, and I don't know if you guys seen Rory Smith's piece that came out that suggested that Liverpool are likely to go to Leipzig for a centre-back in the summer, but not the one that we're thinking of in Upamecano. So it seems to be the word coming out from Rory Smith is that we're looking at Konate, the other centre-back from Leipzig. Now, Ian, I want to ask you, do you think, I agree with Leon, by the way, I think at this late stage, we're not going to see that in January. Do you think there's anything to be had? Or do you think that maybe we're even at a point where even if we did bring somebody in, they still are going to take a month or 2 to get up to speed? That's the obvious downside of bringing in someone late in the window.
I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened early part of the month, personally. I think they would have realised this and they would have been planning and they would have got them in straight away to try and get them up to speed, knowing what we've got going ahead. We need to get someone in who's going to hit the ground running at that position right now because of what we've got. For me, who are we going to... People know that we're desperate. So once Liverpool starts bidding for somebody, everything's going to be a little bit more. Yeah? No one right now is prepared to let any of their players go. And if they do, they're going to let them go at the price that they want. Yeah, because especially they know our predicament, they're going to force our hand. I don't think the owners are going to sanction a massive signing to that level, like so what we did with VVD, like 75 million at the time. They're not going to do that right now. So, I said, Klopp knew the last few weeks we were struggling, and I think they would have been behind closed doors trying to sort out what's what. And if it was really going to happen, it would have happened, I think, the first week. They've gone, bosh, there we go. Just like how we got Matt at that time when he came in. We didn't even know when he was there. No, Fabinho, sorry. When Fabinho first came, we didn't even know. He was just there.
One thing, Leon, that makes me a little bit nervous is there's a lot of talk that we're going to have a big summer. There's been a lot of talk that, we'll go big in the summer. We have our plans there, but excuse me for being a cynic, mate, but I feel like I've heard this story before. I feel like I've heard these words before. And news breaking yesterday from the States that the Red Corp acquisition deal for Billy Bean and Jerry Cardinal that was looking to invest 550 million plus some private equity to take a 25% stake in FSG's holdings. That seems to be out the window right now. So I'm wondering, mate, how committed are the owners for the long term right now? Do you think that they're going to try and extract more value, or do you think that they're just doing what they always do, which is biding their time for the right move, the right window, at the right price, when, as Ian said, we won't be held to ransom?
Well, I think since FSG have come in and Michael Edwards has played such a pivotal role in this, I don't think we can argue with our transfer dealings since they've come to the club. It's been pretty good. I think some of the players that have been sold, the money we've got in to then go back out into the transfer market, and pretty much when you look at Klopp's record, his net spend is quite minimal. So I think we've got to give the board, give Edwards, give Klopp a lot of credit. I think trying to say we're going to have a big summer now in the current predicament that we're all facing in this pandemic, I think it's a bit naive. I think we've got to wait and see what is going to happen. Are we going to get fans back in from August, from that first league game? Is everything going to be back to normal? That's still a big question mark. And there's no doubt with FSG, they run the club like a business. They're not going to go out and just spend money for the sake of spending money. And I admire that about them. I actually think that's the way more football clubs should be run. And then you won't see as many football clubs in financial ruin. If they actually took a leaf out of how these guys are running a club, running a business, you must also take into consideration, Craig, they've built the new main stand. They're looking for planning permission to try and extend Anfield Road's end. So they're increasing capacity, which increases turnover, which increases a budget to be able to go and spend on players. So I would stick with these guys. I think they've done a tremendous job so far. And as Ian said earlier about Klopp, we've got to trust the man. He's brought this club back to where they rightly belong, winning the Premier League, winning Champions League. Yes, it's been a rocky patch. But I also think this current side has been together for what now? 3.5, kind of 4 years, would you say? Most of these players have kind of played in that Champions League defeat against Real Madrid. They've been together for a number of years. And if we're back into a situation where we can spend money, I think it is the right time to be trying to kind of reinvest now in a couple of younger players, but younger proven players, not kids who are going to come in and wait a couple of years. You're 22, you're 23, you're 24 years of age. But the one thing I've noticed with FSG, and I kind of looked into them a little bit in terms of how they ran the Red Sox, they were very much of the kind of feeling that you've got to bring through the young talent, but you've also got to sign some superstars. And I think that's what they've done at Liverpool. If you look at Van Dijk, you look at Alisson, even Naby Keita, I mean, he was bought for big money. Fabinho was bought for big money. We have spent big on players that Jurgen Klopp wanted. So let's give them a chance.
What I want to say to that, I'm on the fence about all of this, gents. I'll be honest with you. I'm pro some things FSG have done and I'm anti some things that they've done. But what is inarguable is that we've seen the Deloitte football money list of clubs come out yesterday or the day before, and Liverpool have moved up into 5th place on that money list, just behind Manchester United, Bayern Munich in 3rd, Real Madrid and Barcelona. That's a tremendous achievement. And that's something that if we look back to where we were as a club before Klopp and before FSG took over, we wouldn't have ever thought of. I mean, I go back to the story of Liverpool winning the Champions League in 2005 and the club store being closed the next day. That would never happen under these type of owners. So there is a lot of credit to be given. But Ian, I think there's also a valid argument for Liverpool fans that ask the question, where is the money? Like Leon touched on earlier on, there's been a minimal net spend because we've been very clever. And that has worked. The plan has worked to get us to where we're at. We've won the Premier League. We've won the European Cup, Super Cup, Club World Cup, all that stuff. But I think we do feel that it's almost an evolution now for Jurgen Klopp's next squad. Again, Leon touched on bringing through quality young players. I think that was leaning towards what I'm about to say here. It is time, in my opinion now, this summer, that the ownership group find money and give it to Jurgen Klopp and let him start building this second squad and not wholly rely on having to sell Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane or Bobby Firmino. I just want to get your take on that.
Well, I believe we've got to look at everything with regards to what they're doing, FSG. Don't forget they've done a new training complex as well, right? You know, shut down Melwood. Now they're doing it, you know, down at Kirby. That's costing a lot of money. they will probably always throw back in our face the income that they're losing now through the pandemic. So yes, they would receive a lot of money, but at the same time, that they're not receiving the Gates money at the moment. So it's all a case of I think they're being very so smart. Really, they're not going stupid right now because they've got to look at the long term. We never ever want to get back to the Hicks and Gillett days. You know what I mean? You never want to go back there. So therefore, as a business, I think they're running it spot on in that sense. Yes, if I put my fan head on, of course I want to go out and buy this person, that person, and yes, can we get them? But at the same time, I don't think we'll get drawn into that. Like Leon said earlier, I think they're looking at what's going to be happening. I think if we start getting indications that yes, crowds are going to start coming back in, so then they know that income is going to be coming back, then I think they will then start looking at, what, we can start releasing a lot more money. Because at the end of the day, you remember, players still got to be paid. Yeah? Right? Other bits of bills have got to be paid. But yet there's hardly any income coming in other than probably merchandise. Yeah? So, and obviously you have the TV money. So I believe until we know for definite, it depending on this summer. Do I believe they're going to spend big this summer? I think they do something. I don't know. Part of me thinks one of them may go, one of the front three. I can't see them all three of them being there next season. I believe one of them will go. I'm hoping not, but I just can't. There's something telling me one of them is going to go this year. At the end of this season.
Leon, I tell you what worries me, mate. It's very easy for us. I'm kind of going into Air mode here. It's very easy for us as fans to sit here and say, bring in that Chinese money, bring in that Saudi Arabian money, bring in that Dubai money, whoever it might be. But in this day and age, and I want to reiterate this to fans, the days of local boy done good that loves the club, has supported it his whole life and has enough money to buy it is out the window, because football clubs now are multi-billion-pound businesses, and there are no livehood fans out there that are ready to come in and throw 5 billion at the club between infrastructure, sales, whatever. That's not going to happen. What we're most likely going to get is a vulture fund, an investment capital fund, somebody like that who will come in and could leverage the club to buy it. We could have a Glazer situation where we're left with crippling repayments, which will again take away from the ability to buy and sell players. So for all the people that are negative about FSG, and they have done some negative stuff, I won't argue about that. I'm more worried about who's next, mate. I'm more worried about what's coming down the line if we are to get new owners.
Well, look, I mean, there's been no talk of FSG yet, even contemplating moving away from the club. I mean, they got involved in one of the biggest football clubs in world football, and they knew what they were doing as well. And you've got to look into the things that have happened because of FSG. We're now with Nike. We're now looking at making an awful lot more money around our commercial activity. And you said it's the first time in a long time we've been up in the top 5. So the way the club is being run perfect. Yes, as fans, we want to see the purse strings loosened up a little bit to help Klopp rebuild another team. But I'm convinced when Jurgen signed his new deal, he would have been given assurances that there will be money available when the time comes. I agree with Ian in terms of I'd love it if the front three were kept. But when you hear rumblings and a lot of people are talking about one of them may be gone in the summer, if we lose one of them three, it's imperative that the replacement is as good or if not potentially better. And if you lose that caliber of player, the worst thing Liverpool could ever do is try and do what kind of Brendan Rodgers did when we sold Luis Suarez. And I don't think that will ever happen again. I think if Suarez went under Klopp right now, we'd get an ideal replacement for him. And I think the owners would back Jurgen Klopp to do that. So I don't think, Craig, we should be worrying about who's coming next after FSG just yet. Let's follow them. Let's see what they're doing. If you would have asked me right now when FSG took over, if we'd be sitting here in 2021 looking what's happened to the club since they came in, I would have snapped your hand off.
So would I. And I think you probably would have been the same. I mean, they've delivered the Holy Grail in the Premier League for us. They've delivered us a European Cup. They've delivered us a team of idols that we look at and adore and will go down as club legends for a long time. They've delivered us the best manager in world football. There certainly are positives. And look, as football fans, we're emotional. We're hypocritical at times. We blow different directions at times. One minute we love somebody, the next minute we hate them. And that's all right. That's allowed. Fans are allowed to voice their opinions. But what we don't want to become, I think, is a toxic fan base that doesn't give context to everything, because everything should be taken in context and the big picture looked at with regard to the own. And look, I feel like I'm coming across as an FSG apologist here. I genuinely am, but I do think it's fair that we give both sides of a conversation. Moving towards the game against Spurs, gents. Tomorrow night is huge. We travel to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which, by the way, needs a far better name. They need to get rid of that name, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's horrendous. But I'm wondering what Spurs are going to show up, Leon. Are we going to see the free-flowing attacking Spurs with Kane and Son being linked up, with Lucas Moura running different directions? Or are we going to see the Jose Mourinho that we've all come to expect, which is sit back, park the bus, and hope for something on the break or a set piece?
Well, I mean, I feel that Spurs being at home, me personally, I think they've got to go and try and win this game. Will they start all guns blazing? Will they come out of the traps at Liverpool and just go gung-ho? I have my doubts about that. But from Liverpool's perspective, like Spurs right behind us in the table, they're a point behind us. We've played a game more. For me, this is a must-win game for both teams. And the reason I say that is because Man City are just on a roll at the minute. They're going to be playing, I think it's Sheffield United at home. Their next game will be Sheffield United. Liverpool's next game is away to West Ham. So City are going to get another win against Sheffield United. I have no doubt about that. So you're now starting to say, if Liverpool draw tomorrow night, that gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time City actually come to Anfield, the league could be over. And in my opinion, right now, I think we play Spurs, West Ham, Brighton. In my opinion, if we don't get 9 out of 9, I think the league is gone. That's my own personal opinion. And I think Spurs have got to look at the table also and be thinking, a draw's no good tomorrow night. We need to win this game. Teams have now got to try and keep pace with City and United, because you'd expect United, again, to win tonight. So we'll be looking up at that table 9 points behind with a game in hand. So you've got to win that game in hand. A draw is no good. So hopefully it's an open game of football. And if it is, Liverpool will win. What
do you think, Eve? Would you agree?
Well, I agree on the point that both teams have to win. A draw's no good for any of them. I believe that Jose will be Jose. I think they will park the bus initially. I feel at the end of the day, Jose, he's cunning. He knows we're a wounded beast at the moment. We've had no winning 5. Yeah. 7 hours without a goal. So he knows if he goes toe to toe straight away, we'll pick him up. I believe he will set up making sure he doesn't lose, so to speak, or leave himself wide open. However, the longer the game goes, I believe they will come out their shell more. So I'm talking about, I don't know, say it's 0-0, half hour to go. Yeah, 25 minutes ago. I think the game will then really open up. If it's that score, say, at that particular time. Yeah, I feel we will have more possession. Yes, they'll look to hit us on a break. But like I said, if it's like 20, 25 minutes ago and 0-0, I think they'll open up. Because they know and we know a draw is no good to any of them.
A question to both of you, but I'll stick with Ian while I have him here first. Are we in a top 4 race, mate, or are we in a title race? What's your opinion right now?
That's a great question. Do you know what? When we were talking earlier, when we were talking about you saying FSG and so forth, I was going to say to you, what I'm more worried about, it's not about the owners. I'm more worried about if we don't make the top 4 this year. Because right now, that personally, that's where I'm fearing at the moment. So I would have to say at this moment in time, top 4 title to take that word away for the moment. Looking at where it's going at the moment, and I've got all the stats here, and seeing the way Man City are going and Man United, boy, I would say right now, we got to be making sure especially if we want a big summer and want to entice players to come to us. Yeah, that any player what comes to us wants to be playing Champions League football. So for me, it's imperative we get in that top 4. So right now, I believe it's a top 4 race right now, not title.
Leon, would you agree?
I'd agree that we're in a top 4 race right now. But as I said, if we can get 9 from 9 out of these next 3 games, which is not easy, certainly with the run we've been on, but I still believe this side and this group of players, once they taste that winning feeling again, that could be the kickstart to a run. And no better place to do it against Mourinho and Spurs. And Mourinho will keep it tight. He's not going to come out all guns blazing. It's not his style. It never has been his style. Actually, I think I said this to you yesterday, Craig, him having no Tottenham Hotspur fans at home is definitely helping him play his style of ball, because there's no fans getting on the team's back about being negative, even though you are at home. So that helps Spurs. But I do feel if either side has aspirations of clinging onto the coattails of Man City and Man United, they've got to win. And let's remember, Liverpool have still got 57 points to play for in the second half of the season. Why can't we win 16 or 17 of those games from now till the end of the season? We just need to get that first one. And Ian is spot on about Champions League football. If we want to attract the top names, Liverpool Football Club has got to be playing Champions League football next season. End of. If we slip into the Europa League, then we've really got problems.
Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to give you a heads up. We're going to be asking you for a few questions to finish up the stream in a minute. So get your questions into the chat and we'll get ready to go. But before I get to that point, I want to ask Ian and Leon. I'll start with Ian on this. Look, there's no doubt that Anfield is the 12th man. And I don't want this to come across as looking for excuses. But do you believe that having no fans inside the stadium may have impacted our squad more than other squads? Or do you think that's just me looking for an excuse?
Right. It's affected us to a point, but I'm not going to use it as an excuse because it's the same for everyone. You know, Klopp did say a few weeks back when we had a 2,000 in there and we played, he said it made a difference and he gave the guys an extra 5 yards, you know, as they were playing. So yes, we all know what Anfield's like. Packed Anfield is second to none. But I've got to be honest and say everyone's in the same boat. So for me, it's just clutching at straws because everyone's in the same boat.
Leon?
I think it has affected us. Should it be used as an excuse? No, but I think it has. Liverpool with fans are a better team than Liverpool without fans. And on the flip side, I think other sides have benefited from having no fans. And they've been able to just concentrate. And I think, I don't know who it was one of the pundits made a point about maybe Luke Shaw. When you look at him performing without fans, maybe he's better off because he's not getting stick even from his own supporters. But you shouldn't use that as an excuse. I think that game, Ian, was, I think we beat Wolves, wasn't it, when we tour? It was 2,000 fans in Anfield and we looked really up for it. We were playing good ball. I think we'd fans for the Spurs game as well. And they got us, you know, you could see, even though there was only 2,000 of them, we nicked that late winner with a fantastic Bobby Firmino header. So fans at Anfield does help us. We've all been there on special nights and special games when it does feel as if the crowd is sucking the ball into the net, especially when we're shooting into the KOPP second half. But as I said, I think when we play big teams, even on a bad run, Liverpool are right up for the big games. So let's hopefully get a win tomorrow night.
Right, I'm going to put this one to you, Ian. Rod Menta, who's a friend from Australia, must be either up late or early, I'm not sure. But Rod, how are you? Said Jose would be mad not to play counter-attacking football tomorrow. The interesting question is, how will the Reds prepare to prevent that? Which is a very good question. How do we stop this counter-attack that... Look, United caught us on it, Ian. We turned the ball. I say we turned the ball over in our own box. In fairness, Paul Pogba made a good challenge in his box, and then Rashford over the top, just over Milner's head, and it was in the back of the net with an absolutely wonderful piece of shithousery from Robbo, by the way, trying to scream to put him off. I thought that was brilliant. But how do we stop that counter attack if that's the case? I love Robbo for that, mate. I absolutely love him for that.
Right, for me to prevent that. It's with the team selection that I said right at the beginning. When you got the likes of, say, Hendo, and say, Genie, playing there, to me, there are valves. There are safety valves. You know, there was, I forgot what game I was watching, and Cara made a really good point about what Hendo does. And it showed you points where we were so far up the field, he was playing right back at some stages. Yeah, because he was just covering. Yeah, that's where I think if we get the likes of Hendo playing tomorrow, right, and Genie, I believe we can prevent that counter attack, because I think we will have more defensive-minded players around there that can safeguard us on that.
And a similar one for you here, Leon. Kate said, do you think the Man United game prepared us for the match tomorrow somewhat?
Yeah, I mean, United are a counter-attacking team. Tottenham Hotspur are a counter-attacking team. I think United were more open than Spurs will be, however, because United had a right go at us in the FA Cup game. It was a totally different game to the league, bore draw. But I think both sides, Spurs and United do like to hit you on the counter-attack. I mean, I just wonder as well, you remember Liverpool used to be a counter-attacking team when we used to break with just such pace that no one could stop us. You just wonder if we ever get back to the point, and I think we will. Some teams are going to start saying, let's have a go with this Liverpool. Their weak link is because they don't have their big man, Virgil van Dijk. They don't have Joe Gomez at the back. And that would open up more space for us. We saw it against Man United when we created chances. When they came forward, we broke exceptionally quick. I think both teams will have chances to hit on the counter-attack tomorrow night. But you'd have to say Spurs would be a little bit more negative than United were in the FA Cup. But Spurs would be really similar to Man United when they came to Anfield, where they just sat back and tried to hit us on the break in the second half. As Ian mentioned earlier, if this is 0-0 going into 60 or 65 minutes, that's exactly what Mourinho wants. Then he can just let them go that extra 5 yards forward. Listen, he's a master tactician at it, but I do believe with Genie and Hendo, we do have some safety nets.
When you were talking about counter-attacking goals from Liverpool there, my head immediately went to, I think it was the Arsenal game, and there was a brilliant camera angle from the tunnel where you just see Mohamed Salah just flying up the pitch and everybody running after him when we scored an amazing goal. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's exactly where my head went. Right, to finish up, I'll put this one to both of you. Base Face in Space says, does not being in the FA Cup actually help our Premier League chances with rest and everything? So, I'll give you first go on that one.
Yeah, of course it helps with the fact that we, less games to play. But I think, depending on how far we got, I think we would end up playing a lot for the kids anyway, to be honest with you. You could tell the fact that he rested Matip for that game, and obviously he's playing too much, shows you where his priorities are at the end of the day. Because it shows that he could have played Matip the other day, but he didn't. He rested him. So you could, Klopp, his FA Cup sort of like trend, he doesn't really put it up at the forefront. So for me, yes, I think it will help us. We've obviously still got Champions League to go. So yeah, I think it will help us totally. Yeah,
he hasn't really put a lot of importance on the FA Cup. And I mean, there's two ways to look at it. You can look at the prize money as well. It's worth nothing. So I think 3.8 million if you go on and win the FA Cup, which is one league place or one win in the Champions League. It's very small money. I think it's a fair point. And Leon, for you, do you think it'll help us, or would you have liked to have gone a little bit deeper in the competition?
I would have liked to beat Man United just to get a victory and give the boys the winning feeling. But yeah, he would have played a second string team. He's always done it since he's come to the club. The Premier League and the Champions League are his priorities, rightly so. The money in both of those competitions far exceeds winning a cup. And I do think there's a couple of weeks coming up where we'll only have a game on the weekend. And that will help us. Yes, definitely.
Gents, time has beaten us, but I've really enjoyed this chat, and I really enjoyed having a catch up with Mr. Ian Brewster and Mr. Leon Blanche, and you'll be back in a couple of weeks, gents, for another one. I really appreciate you giving up your time. And look, before I let you go, I got Leon on this one yesterday, but I'm going to get you, Ian. Prediction.
Why'd you do it to me, Craig? Prediction.
Can't be all easy questions. I have to get you one.
Ian, I'll tell you mine. I went for a 2-1 victory to the Reds. That's what I've gone.
Do you know what? I don't know. I'm just going to put it at it. We're going to win 1-0.
I'll take that. I'll take a clean sheet. I went with 2-2 for my prediction in my my prediction show, and usually I go for a bullish away win, but I'm nervous. I won't lie. This game has me very, very nervous tomorrow. But look, gents, it's been a pleasure. And folks, look, we'll be back tomorrow with a watch along of the game with a post-match show as well. Of course, sponsored by Mr. Leon Blanche's parent company, Boyle Sports. Leon is on here just as a fan, but we are, of course, sponsored by Boyle Sports, as you can see. And we'll be back with a watch along tomorrow, post-match show. Lots of other bits and pieces as well. Hit that subscribe button. Drop a like on the video. I really appreciate the gents giving up their time as always, and look forward to our next chat. Folks, it's a big one tomorrow. Here's the 3 points. Up the Reds.